Welcome to another episode of Burnout Banter. Today, we're diving into a topic that's more relevant than ever: the impact of the digital age on our mental health. As our lives become increasingly intertwined with technology, the line between work and personal time blurs, leading to what's known as digital burnout. We'll explore how constant connectivity, social media, and information overload contribute to stress and burnout, and share practical tips for managing your digital life more mindfully. Let's reclaim balance in this hyper-connected world. Hi, everybody. My name's Jeff,
And I'm Rochelle.
and this is Burnout Banter. Before we jump into today's episode, remember to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen so you can stay up to date with the latest banter. So I thought I'd start us off with a question, Rochelle. Um, we're talking about the digital age. So if you
Yeah.
had to guess when the digital age started, what would you guess?
Oh man. So this is really funny. I Googled yesterday, am I older than Google?
Are you?
I am in fact older than Google.
Okay.
I think Google is like 26 or 27 maybe. So I'm gonna say uh the digital age was maybe advent of internet, early 90s. I
Yeah.
think the internet
Well,
was there
it's
before that,
actually
but
it's actually the 80s, late 70s,
oh.
with the advent of personal computing, which kind of
Ah.
before the internet, even though that's hard to remember. I remember it playing my Commodore 64. That was just a computer that sat there that was had a word processor and spreadsheet
That's
program
amazing.
you could print and play video games, and that's what I remember it for.
That's
That
awesome.
was before
I
the
only know of the Commodore 64 from Ready Player One. So that's that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's kind of marked by this shift from traditional industry into an economy based on information technology. So computing, the internet, um, now it's been really rapidly progressing with smartphones and all
Social
of it's,
media.
yeah, social media, all of it's changed how we communicate, work, and live. So
I believe
I
that.
thought that
I
was
think that.
interesting too. I wouldn't have gone back that far, but I think
Yeah,
it's
I kind of
kind of this exponential curve too. I think the technology is accelerating at a pretty rapid pace. So, have
definitely.
you heard of the term digital burnout?
Kind of. I've seen a lot of people do digital detoxes where they just like delete everything and disappear from the online world for a while. And they'll come back and say that that was digital burnout. So, kind of. I'm aware of the term. I don't really know how it's defined in relation to burnout.
Yes, I mean, if you think about the digital age and the impact it's had on us, right? It's integrating technology into every aspect of our lives. Like I was just at the mechanic even getting a few routine things done on my car, and the amount of stuff that's controlled by a computer and having to be the sense system that's sensing like all the traffic around you and the cameras, and how you have to like I can't even think of the term, but calibrate all those things. Like even we just got both windshields replaced in both of our cars, and they had to like drive it and recalibrate the cameras, and
Whoa.
everything. Technology has just kind of become integrated into everything from our work life to our personal relationships, and it it allows us to communicate and do things, have access to information. You talked about Google, um, Chat GPT, right? How much information do we have access to that we never had access to before? But it can blur the lines between work and personal time, and that's where the digital burnout sets in, I think. So these tools have become indispensable, but um, it's also created a lot of challenges for our mental health and our well-being.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I did some research into digital burnout too, and It's a physical and mental exhaustion that results from prolonged exposure to digital devices and constant connectivity. Oof, that's a mouthful. Constant connectivity.
Might need
Um,
a different way to say that. Always on.
Always on, right? And we're always on because of our technology.
Yeah. Yeah, it's impossible to get away from it when it's literally in your pocket or yeah, your technology is on your person at all times now. It's wild. On
Yeah.
your wrist, in your Google Glass, or well, Google Glass one way, but whatever the like new glasses things are, it's everywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, in the construction industry, you know, the onset of Revit and stuff makes it easier to design a building and get things properly coordinated and correct. But I think a lot of us who lived through earlier times without it, and I know this specifically when I talk to even people older than me, right, who used to work with Mylar prints and hand drawing stuff. They pine for the days of the architect would create a background and it wouldn't change because it was so hard to change it. And now it's so easy to change it that it it does create a lot of problems from a design perspective, and I'm sure you can relate on the marketing side as well.
Yeah, shared documents are they're a problem. Uh, at least the new ones allow you to like track changes and see who has done things. Because it used to be that someone would just like find the file and go and make changes. And you didn't know until you opened it up and went, what the heck is this? But I think there's definitely something to be said for that kind of like siloed, focused work time. Uh, Not having to worry about a distraction or a change or someone crashing in to collaborate. Like, yes, collaboration is great, it's wonderful, it's important. Uh, but that constant connectivity is really disruptive, and I think it causes a lot of anxiety. I can only imagine how frustrating it would be to design something and then have to worry about the base model changing, and so you have to redo everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and at times, right, things will become disconnected. So now they're just like floating in space. And um, so you do, right? If an update is made, you really have to go back through the whole thing and check to make sure that you didn't miss something if unless there's really good communication about what was actually changed,
Right.
which is the
And
same for shared files.
I was just gonna say, yeah, if someone just says, hey, I'm gonna pop into the file and do this real quick, I'm like, exactly what are you doing?
Yeah.
Not that I don't trust you, but I have to control page count and compliance. I just need to make sure that we're still aligning there. And yeah, that causes a lot of tension and stress.
Yeah, so I thought it would be fun for us to do, and our listeners can join in with us. This I've taken this exam before, or this assessment before, and I thought it would be interesting to redo it because it's been a couple of years. But it's a digital addiction assessment, and
Oh
it's
no.
um, insane productivity, which is a course put together by Darren Hardy. Um, So we're going to ask each question and we're going to check the box if the answer is yes or even mostly yes. And he
I'm gonna
says
fail.
honest because lying to yourself is an addiction too. No one will see
Ouch.
this but you, except for in the case of you and me, everybody will see this. And the first step to change is acknowledgement of the problem. So,
Yeah, well, I've already admitted that I'm gonna fail it. We already know.
so are you ready?
I'm not even a little bit. Let's go.
Okay. So do you sometimes bring your smartphone, tablet, or laptop with you while you sit on the toilet?
I do not.
Okay, I do. I don't
I've
know.
never understood that, but that's a hard no for me.
If you have to wait in line for more than 2 minutes, do you often pull out your smartphone?
Absolutely.
It's me as well. If you're waiting at a stoplight that looks like it will be red for more than 30 seconds, do you often pull out your phone?
Oh, that's a hard one. If I'm having an active conversation with someone, probably. If there's nothing going on, then no.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer that one.
I do it more like I gotta look at my email, see if something came in. So
Yeah, see, when I'm driving, I'm really good about not getting distracted by any of that stuff. It's literally only like, I heard my phone buzz, I have a text. I should probably take this opportunity to check that.
mhm. Do you bring your smartphone with you to church?
No,
Yeah.
but mostly because I don't attend church.
Yeah, there. So we'll get a pass on that one.
Yay.
Has your significant other ever banned you from your smartphone?
No,
Yeah, me either. Do your
I'd be
spouse or
deeply
kids
concerned.
text you within your house to get your attention? I guess your dogs would have to text you.
I was gonna say, I can't answer that one.
I get that one. I do get the text within the house.
Wow. No, I've never had that one.
Do you freak out if you're in your car and your smartphone is in your bag or inaccessible?
Yes.
Do you check your RSS feeds more than one time per hour? I guess that would be like news feeds. I don't know that we still
I'm
have.
like, RSS is a antiquated term now.
Yeah,
No.
some of these questions are a little outdated. So no. Do you sometimes make a nervous habit of refreshing your inbox over and over just in case someone emailed you in the last 45 seconds?
I don't think you have to do that anymore. It shows up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah. Does the verb tweet come up regularly in your real life conversations? Or I
not
guess,
anymore.
but
No, Twitter is the one social that I was always real bad at and never engaged in.
on Twitter. Have you ever changed vacation plans based on Wi-Fi availability?
No.
Yeah, me either. Are there more than two portable electronic devices within reach of your bed?
No. Just two.
Me either. I don't have any.
Oh, phone and tablet. But my
Mine.
tablet is so old, it's basically just like an e-reader at this point. It's not really for connectivity.
I'm going to change this one a little bit because it's based on Facebook, but have your friends commented on social media that you spend too much time on social media?
No.
Me either. I think I've done better than I did the last time I took this assessment.
I'm pleasantly surprised at the number of no's I've been able to throw out here.
Do you check your personal social media account notifications while at work?
Yes, absolutely.
When you post an update on social media, are you disappointed if no one comments on it? I would say yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Since you started using social media, do you spend less time doing other activities you used to enjoy? Sports, exercise, socializing with others, hobbies?
I mean, probably. It's like a pseudo, I feel connected. So my friends and I joke about that all the time. There's like a new wave of friendship that's just sharing memes over social. And then you don't actually have to see each other in person, but you're still friends. It's weird.
I only look at mine if I'm bored, so I guess I wouldn't be doing something I enjoy if I'm bored. If I'm doing something I enjoy, I'm not looking at social media. Uh, do you often log into social media when you are out socially with others?
Uh, I mean, occasionally,
Yeah, I do not. Have you ever described what you were eating on social media?
probably. I know I've posted lovely food pics. I don't know if I describe what I'm eating,
I think a
but
picture is a description.
yeah, I've done that.
Do you ever tell a friend in person to check your social media profile to learn what's new with you?
No,
I don't care.
that's wild.
Have you ever gotten mad at a friend who didn't know what was new with you because they didn't check your social media profiles?
I haven't, but I've had that happen to me.
Okay, so that person gets a check, not you though.
That person gets a check there.
Do you check email, social medias before you brush your teeth in the morning?
Yes.
I do as well.
I know I'm not supposed to. I'm trying to break that habit.
I do it while I'm eating breakfast, which I haven't brushed my teeth before I eat breakfast. So,
I mean, that makes sense.
do you have your social media account set so you get automatic notifications to keep up with what your friends are doing, saying?
Yes.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was trying, like, I've got like default notifications. I'm like, no, that's stupid. Yes, it's notifying me anytime someone sends me something.
You often confuse what someone has said to you in real life with what was said on social media.
No,
Okay, me either. Do you spend more time on social media than you do in the presence of actual people?
probably.
Okay, I'm going to say no for that one. Have you ever asked somebody if you are friends on social media when you meet them?
Like when you meet them in person, like are we friends on
Like you've never met this person.
I mean that happens to me with LinkedIn a lot. Like
Okay.
aren't we connected on LinkedIn? So yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about LinkedIn.
Like my Instagram now
Yeah.
or Snapchat, but
Do you check your email and social medias one last time after you brush your teeth at night?
no, I have broken that habit.
I don't either. Do you text or check email while driving, even though you know it's worse than if you were driving drunk?
Only at the stoplights.
Okay. I do it. I've tried to get much better, but I will do it every once in a while I'm
Oh
driving.
no.
That's not good. When something happens in your life, is your first thought usually, how can I fit this into 140 characters?
No.
Okay. Do you need multiple wall outlets to charge all your stuff at night? I think all of us do.
At this point, yeah, of course we do.
When you sit down in a coffee shop, do you tend to position yourself close to a power outlet just in case?
Yes, always.
Do you have more than 5 tabs open in your browser at any given time?
More than five. That's cute. Yes.
Okay, I do not. I only typically have one or two.
I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 right now between three different browsers.
Are there more than 3 screens of some kind in your office when you are in it? Absolutely.
Yes.
Do you tweet, email, text, or read blogs while watching movies or TV at home?
Yes.
I only do it if I'm watching something my wife has chosen that I don't really want to watch.
Ouch. Now, this is something I've noticed more and more over the years, and I would be curious if our listeners have also experienced this, where like I have trouble focusing on just one screen. Like even if it's a movie or a show that I'm really invested in, I just like feel drawn to the small screen. And so I like mindlessly scroll through something while I'm also listening. I'm like, why do I do that? What is wrong with me?
Nothing's wrong with you. I think it's just the way we were raised in this age.
Like we're just I can't not multitask is I think what it's become. And so if I'm only doing one thing, I find it really, really difficult to only do that one thing if it's screen related.
We're going to talk about multitasking later.
Ooh,
Um,
yay.
we're getting close to being done with this. Do you put your phone on vibrate at the movie theater rather than turn it off, even though you're not expecting anything important?
I mean, my phone has been on vibrate for 15 years, as long as
Yeah.
I've had a phone. But I put it in like airplane mode sometimes or do not disturb.
I'll turn it off if I go into like a project interview or something like that, where I know I'm needing to not be like having that buzz in my pocket. So, but a movie, I don't
I
think I'd
appreciate
have
that.
the same importance.
Nah,
Okay. Can you type text messages faster than you can handwrite the same words?
yes.
Yeah. When out to eat, do you put your smartphone on the table instead of in your pocket or purse?
It's like a 50-50, but I'm gonna go with yeah.
Does it disturb you if someone else's smartphone dings and they don't check it?
No.
Yeah, me either.
I appreciate that they didn't check it.
If you are without your smartphone or the battery has died, do you get a twinge of envy when you see someone else on his or her smartphone?
I don't know if that's ever happened.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Would you classify yourself as an effective multitasker?
Hey, very.
I do not. Do you check your email more than one time per hour?
Yeah. I didn't know I'm also not supposed to do that, but yes.
You're going to benefit from these strategies we talk about later, I think.
I'm so excited.
When
But
not, when not in teleconference or phone call, do you scan email at the same time?
yeah.
Especially if it's a boring one. During meetings, do you keep your smartphone on vibrate instead of shutting it off?
Yep.
Said yes. Is your smartphone on vibrate right now? Yes.
Always.
During meetings, do you often respond to text or emails?
Yep.
It says
I'm
don't
responding to one right now. Just kidding.
smart because this is associated with a class, so it's funny that
Oh,
you that as a side note. Don't think about it right now. Are you answering email on your smartphone when you walk between meetings or on your way to the parking lot?
probably.
Do you keep answering while you're sitting in your car or you're in your driveway or garage when you get home?
Yep.
I don't do that. Do you deny you have an addiction to your smartphone?
I do not.
I do not either. Okay, so you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So remember 27.
What? I'm gonna write that down.
And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So you and I are both in the chain smoker category.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
So we recognize that we're addicted, but we're trying to quit, but not that hard. Be aware that your addictions are starting to ruin your social interactions between signing out of the real world every 10 seconds and stinking up the room when you enter. People do talk behind your back about it too, just know that.
Who are these people? And I would like them to take this quiz.
They're the ones who are probably lower scores than us. So 0 to 5 is clean as a whistle. 6 to 10, you're a social drinker. 10 to 19, you're a coffee fiend. 30 to 39, you're a pothead. And 40 to 49, you're a crackhead. And 50,
Okay.
you're perma fried.
Ooh.
So if anybody gets a score and you want to find out what the
What your
description is that
ranking
goes
is.
with it, let me know and I can message it over to you.
Well, I appreciate not being perma-fried. I don't know if I like chain smoker, but
I mean, it's good that there's 3 categories
yeah.
above us.
Yeah, I like midline. We're not
And there's 3
terrible.
below us, so we're right in the middle.
I feel like a lot of people are hanging out with us.
I would think so. For clean as a whistle, he said you're either 95 years old, live under a bridge, or you often lie compulsively to make yourself feel better about your distraction addictions.
I
Sorry
was
to call you
literally
out on
thinking
somebody.
like I don't even know if my grandma would get a 0 to 5.
I think what he's saying is nobody would get a 0 to 5 in this
I
day.
probably. So what does all this mean?
What does it mean? Well, I think, when you talk about digital addiction or digital burnout, there's constant connectivity, there's social media, and then there's information overload. So let's, I guess, break down each of those. So
Okay.
constant connectivity. Um, what do you think of
This
that
is
one?
something we talked about in one of our management episodes, and how there's a lot of pressure on leadership and management to always be available to their teams, and that's actually really counterproductive. Uh, and I think I don't know what's going on in the world, but I keep connecting with people who proposal people who keep telling me the same thing too. Like I can't not check my email to see like what catastrophe is coming. I'm like, no,
That
you
because they
can
feel
just
like
sign out of work.
is that because they feel like they would get in trouble if they miss a catastrophe, or it's like this impending doom of a catastrophe is coming and they need
I
to.
think it's, yeah, that impending, like there's always something. I'm not even going to just say proposals, but there's always something in our work life now, right? So I think all the proposal people I've been talking to have just, they feel this like overwhelming need to try and get ahead of it. And so they're constantly checking their emails or their LinkedIn or whatever it is to like head off whatever that impending doom is, even though we don't have like a specific, there's no specific challenge or issue or catastrophe. There's just this feeling that it's going to come. And so they're constantly trying to mitigate it. And they can because they are able to be constantly connected.
Yeah, which creates a lot of stress, right?
So
This
much
feeling of
stress.
impending doom, and I've always got to be checking because something's going to be coming. I always like to talk about, this isn't even that long ago. Airplanes didn't used to have Wi-Fi. That's kind of a newer development. Um, People used to fly on airplanes all the time for work, right? And the world didn't end while you were on the plane for 3 or 4 hours. So why is the world going to end if you turn off your email for 3 or 4 hours at your desk? It's probably not.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that's a great point. And I think it's those like external factors, like you were getting on a plane, you now have permission to be disconnected, but we keep taking away those like permission factors, and
Ourselves, though, too, right?
it's what?
We're taking the permission away from ourselves. I
I
don't.
was just gonna say, and we don't have like the boundaries or the strength of will anymore to be like, it's fine to not do this.
Yeah, and I think if you work for a boss or a leader who's always available too, even if they're saying, right, like you don't have to be, there's this, I'm going to do what you're doing, not what you're saying. And so I think that can really impact people too. And if you get a response back from your boss instantly, right? Like now I feel like I need to keep up with that in order to either A, get to the point where I could do their job at some point or not get in trouble.
Yeah, I met a proposal coordinator last year, I think at one of the conferences, and she was talking about how her director is online all the time. She works over the weekend, she responds to things at like 11, she comes into meetings and she's like, there's just always something to do. But she really loves her work. I would question like how much of this is workaholism, but she's just like really passionate about stuff. But this junior coordinator was like having like proposal PTSD and anxiety, and she went to HR and was like, I feel really pressured to do this. I know this isn't the expectation, but it was exactly that. She was seeing her director do this, and everybody else on the team was seeing the director do this, and she just felt like she had no choice but to do the same thing. And that's so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean the psychological impacts of this, right? There is increased stress. We're having anxiety, depression, feelings of being overwhelmed. constantly. All that eventually leads to burnout. But there's also reduced cognitive function, right? If I'm continuously working without a break, I'm losing concentration, I'm losing creativity, and I'm losing my ability to make decisions, which I would think most of our employers would not want that for us. Even if it's selfishly because we perform better for them.
You
Um,
would think, and yet so many employers push and push and push to get as much as they can out of their employees without giving them space. And I don't understand it.
yeah, and eventually all that leads to sleep disruption and kind of this vicious cycle that builds on itself. So I think that's the issue with constant connectivity. And even when we go on vacation, right? Like, are we actually getting a vacation or a break from work, or are we checking in? Um, I had a coworker who was he was on vacation in Mexico and he had checked in and I was like, aren't your hands supposed to be full of 2 beers? How are you holding your phone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like going places where I don't get internet because then I am forced to not connect and like it can't even tempt me. But I get frustrated too, like traveling and there's this like desire to show off the cool things that you're doing. Like even if it's not checking into work, but this like, oh, I should post this to Instagram. Why? Or I need to take a picture of this. I went to a concert this week and I have like 15 videos of this band and I'm never gonna watch again. Like
Right.
the live version recorded is garbage on my phone. Like I was there, I have the memories, they're great. These memories, quote unquote, are they're junk. Why did I feel the need to pull out my phone and not just be in the moment in that experience?
Yeah. I think that leads well into social media, right? But it always I always gotta laugh. Like at Universal Studios, we're going down the Jurassic Park ride, and it's a water ride, so you're gonna get splashed. And there's these people with their phone in a bag recording the ride. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just enjoy the ride. And
It's gonna be a terrible video. Yeah,
I can't
just
imagine being like, what was really fun was that Jurassic Park ride. Let me relive it or let me show my friends. I probably wouldn't have very many friends if I did that very often.
like check this out, first person point of view on this roller coaster. Like, no.
Yeah, so I think you talked about social media, right? I think there's this, and I've even heard my daughter do it. She has a few friends from school who are constantly posting what they're doing on Instagram. And so she has this skewed perspective of how great these people's lives are. And, I'm like, you don't even know. She's like, all my friends are doing this, and all my friends are doing that, and I'm not doing it. And I'm like, okay, how many friends are posting to social media? And she's like, 6. I'm like, okay, that's not all your friends. It's just that 6 people are very vocal about what they're doing. And now you're comparing yourself to these 6 people and feeling bad about yourself because you're not doing these things that they're doing. And that's not good, right? So it's kind of this comparison culture that happens on social media, mixed in with a little bit of
Absolutely.
FOMO, right? Like these people are having
So
some
much FOMO.
missing out.
Exactly. There's so much pressure and like you don't even realize it. Like I'm more of a lurker. I don't post a whole lot because I'm really bad at curating my feeds. Whatever that means.
I don't even know
All
what
of I went to school for advertising, right? And the whole thing was like building your personal brand to get hired. So there's this huge emphasis on like your Instagram needs to be this carefully curated collection of your interests and your hobbies and your personality and who you are. So we had people who just had these gorgeous, gorgeous layouts. Like if a photo wasn't perfect, it didn't make the cut, even if it was like the most interesting thing in the world. Or we had people who had like these super eclectic feeds. Every like social media became an extension of like your portfolio almost. I'm going to tie that back into like the generational thing we talked about on the last episode, where millennials are like trained to make every asset of their life or every facet of their life an asset for employability. And that's what this was. We actively had entire classes in my advertising education that were like, this is how you curate your Instagram. This is what your Facebook should look like. And it's not just like, don't post unprofessional things. It was share these types of articles to show that you're thinking about this, or write this type of thing to show that this is your philosophy. It wasn't social media for personal, it
Yeah.
was social media for public. And I think that's a lot of that's all social media is now, is this like public facing brand that's been cleaned and scrubbed. And even if you're counterculturing it, like here's a sad cracked egg I saw on the sidewalk. It's not pretty, but it's real. You're still making a statement.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think it's interesting as I've kind of transitioned into my 40s. I'm more than halfway through them now. And we talk about this with the kids, right? Like, oh, we want to go do this, we want to go do that. And my wife and I are just kind of like, I'm good. Like I lived my life. I'm not done living my life, but like all this stuff that you want to experience, like we've experienced, you just weren't here for it. And so, like they have this FOMO, right, that's generated through social media of all these things that they could be doing. And I think we've progressed our way past that a little bit, but it still gets you every once in a while. Somebody's on a cool vacation or something.
Social media makes it look like people are constantly traveling, but then when you actually talk to them, you're like, oh, so you took like one trip and you're just still filtering out photos from that last year. You're not really, yeah, the story you can tell versus the reality is wild. The authenticity is not always there.
Yeah, and I think that the same thing comparison wise happens, right? Of with famous people, right? Like we see their lives, we want our life to look like their life, but we in reality have no idea if this person's happy or miserable or having the best life ever, right? We just don't know because we don't know that person. And that the same thing happens with social media, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So then the last part of this is information overload. Um, just constantly taking in information. Nobody could see this, but she just had a deep breath out.
My 10 browser windows with like a word with the amount of information they're trying to throw at me. I've got like proposal edits and three different emails open and like a Dropbox of new stuff. And I've got a blog up because I was reading about prompting for AI because I saw something cool. And it's so much to absorb. It's so overwhelming. And I'm aware of it. I could close these tabs and come back to these things later,
Then you might
but I'm
forget,
not going
you
to.
might miss out.
Yeah, I will definitely forget about it. That's why they're all open all at the same time because I have the attention span of like a goldfish. I can get through like 3 seconds and then it's gone if it's not in front of my face, which I think is also a byproduct of interactivity or, oh my gosh,
Constant connectivity. Yeah.
constant connectivity and the information age. Like it's just all right there. So of course I'm going to access it.
Yeah. So all the information can overload our brain. It can lead to difficulty in making decisions. It can lead to lack of focus, like you just said. We don't retain any information that we take in. And all that is adding to the fatigue and stress and reduced productivity, which ultimately leads to burnout. So there's just so many ways that we're being communicated with too, right? From your news, your social media, your emails, on and on and on, right? Like it's just constant, and a lot of it is negative, right?
Oh yeah.
So
There's a lot of power in negative messaging, unfortunately.
right, which can also stress you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some things you can do you think, to help with our digital burnout?
I mean, I know the number one is I probably need to limit the amount of screen time I have. Like computer goes off, maybe phone can also go off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like I think we both agreed that we are good at not checking our phones after brushing our teeth,
Yes.
but we
Like,
both really aren't good at before we brush our teeth in the morning. Like maybe working on a boundary there. Like phone
yeah.
doesn't need to come out until I'm actually ready for the day.
Yeah. So boundaries are really important, right? When am I going to have times that are technology free? Um, and maybe not even it's technology free. It could be like, I'm going to disconnect from work. Um,
Right.
I know we had Davina on a couple episodes and she talked about having a work phone and a personal phone. And as soon as she disconnects from work, her work phone goes in a drawer. It doesn't come back out again until she's reconnected with work. So that's a pretty good way I thought of, not that I want to buy two phones, but
Yeah, I don't want to juggle two phones, but I did really appreciate that. Like, I know there are ways to set your settings on your phone to like you can't access these apps at after this time, or you only get X number of hours on them. And I've
yeah,
never put in those controls, but sometimes I wonder if I need to.
yeah, there's definitely that's definitely possible because I've done it for the kids.
Is it effective?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. If they can't access something, then they're going to put it down and do something else. So
Yeah, maybe I'll test it for a
yeah,
week.
you just have to give the code to somebody else, right? So you have to go to somebody else to
Right. Please
yeah,
set this up for me.
do you really need to
I
have that gut check, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Being mindful about it, turning off your notifications can be really powerful. Um,
I have gotten really good at that one. The iPhone, like, do not disturb settings where you can set up different, like, this is sleep, this is work. I'm really good at those now, where I'm like, you are not allowed to talk to me after like 7 o'clock. My sleep one goes on, even though I'm not sleeping. But it silences literally everything, but most important people can access me.
yeah. Um, Creating a tech-free zone or times, right? Like during meals, before bed. We try to do that with the kids an hour before bed. It goes away.
That's
Um,
good. I'm really not good at that one. I've tried to like leave your phone in another room, close the door on your computer. Would love audience tips on this one. Listeners, help.
um, Trying not to multitask is a huge way to help with the information overload piece. Um,
I feel like we could do a whole episode on that because once you have started multitasking and you've like set that expectation for like I can do this many things at once or I can handle this amount of workload, it's so hard to go back. And like I was saying earlier, even when I'm not working, I am multitasking. Even if it's not important, my brain just feels like it has to be doing two things at once.
it is a practice. It is something you have to be very intentional about. And like, it's hard, you know, I think even when we had Andrew, the time boss on, right? Like he was talking about he's on this call, like he's blocked out his calendar that this is the only thing that he's doing. Um, and so I think when you're in a meeting, right, can you really just focus on the meeting? I do great if I'm engaged in the meeting. If I, and I guess maybe there's a question, right, of should I be attending the meeting if I'm not engaged in it? I think there's probably a pretty strong yes there. I should not be attending.
Right. Right.
Uh, but it's that part of it for me, right? Like where I get bored with what's going on with whatever I'm doing. That is when I tend to wander into other things.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it I've tried. I've really been intentional about trying to practice this sometimes, and it does feel very strange. And you constantly have to fight the desire to like flip back and do something else. So um, Yeah, I think you just really have to be mindful about it and create, even going back to our quiz, right? Like, what's one of those things I could not do? Um,
Right.
and that's, I think I've scored better because I've been mindful of some of those things, but it was a good reminder that there's still some that taking
You
it to
might
the
have scored
bathroom,
better, but you're right
out,
there with me.
taking it out in the bathroom, taking it out, like if I'm waiting in line for 2 minutes, it's those where it's like, nope, I'm just gonna be here. I'm gonna be uncomfortable.
But why? We don't have to be uncomfortable anymore.
What do you think? Did we cover that?
I think we did. I think we hit all of the information overload topics, and I think we've left our listeners with some good strategies for digital detoxing. Again, would love to hear our listeners chime in on what strategies they're using and have been effective and what hasn't been effective for them. Same things don't work for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you ready for our burning question?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
And now it's time for burning questions.
So this comes from somebody who works from home, and they were curious. They said they believe that both you and I work from home, which is accurate.
They would be correct.
What tips and tricks do you have to share with your listeners about how not to blur the lines between work and home life when you do work from home? Rochelle
I
is
have I'm laughing because I have the worst answer for this. So like the beginning of the pandemic, all these articles came out about like creating your workspace versus your home space and how important it is to be able to like close the door off and like really focus. And then there was like a phase where people were like, this is not working for me anymore. Like I can't just walk out the front door, then like walk in through the garage and pretend that I'm in a different space. My advice from the very beginning has been to lean in to the blurred lines.
okay. Interesting.
So, it's a hot take maybe, but like I can't focus if I have a task calling me away. So like if I'm trying to do something work-wise and like I know I need to throw in a load of laundry, I will just take 5 seconds and go throw in a load of laundry. Or like if I'm cooking dinner and I know I'm waiting for an email for edits that I'm gonna have to pick up this evening, if that email comes in, dinner stops and I go take care of the email and then I go back to dinner. And it gives
I'm
me
curious how
peace
you
of
stop
mind.
cooking dinner.
I mean, I usually get to a stopping point and I'm
Okay.
like
Okay. You just turn the heat
I
off
just
and
turn it
let
all
it.
off and cover it. No, like I'll finish like if I was boiling pasta or something, like I'll at least boil the pasta and like toss the sauce on it so it doesn't dry out. And then maybe it comes to my desk with me, even though I try to keep a strict like no eating at your desk rule. Sometimes it gives me the peace of mind. So
I was gonna say,
probably not good
I hope your
advice.
break point isn't dinner is ready, and now I'm gonna set it aside and come back to it after I've done this. I hope you eat your dinner.
I have made that mistake enough times that I'm like, no, it is so frustrating to come back to a cold dinner. But I will at least like wander off to my office, see how much workload I have, like just kind of mentally prep for it, wander back to dinner, have my dinner, and then go back to work. Like it's just all that mental, for me, it's a mental, uh, it just makes it easier for me to not stress about things because they just sit in the back of my mind. Like I saw that email come in, or I know it's gonna come in. And so instead of just like constantly waiting for it or checking on it or thinking about it, I just deal with it. So
Sounds
again, probably
sounds
not
like
the
you have
best advice.
some of that doom going on yourself.
I have so much of the doom going on. I'm a proposal manager. There's always doom.
I'm with you. I think if you're working from home and you have something to do, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it. I think where that can get you in trouble, right, is it being done because of an avoidance thing, right? Am I trying to avoid something? And so I'm constantly pinging back and forth to these other activities that are maybe not as important. And then can you actually create not a whole day of focus time, but 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes of focus time to just pay attention to work and get the work done that you need to get done.
Exactly. Like, I think having a dedicated space where you do the majority of your work is really helpful. This might surprise a lot of people, but I've been consulting for 6 years and I didn't have an actual off. No, I've been consulting for 7 or 8 years. Didn't have an office for 5 years. I worked at kitchen tables, I worked on couches. I had this like little credenza set up in my bedroom at some point, and that was my quote unquote office. So it doesn't have to be like a full room, but like if you have like this is the seat at the kitchen table where I do my work, and then I switch to this side of the kitchen table when I'm just like personal me. Like I think you have to just figure out what the trick for your brain is, because everyone's brain is different.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I've found to be really important, because it's really easy to like say, okay, I'm done working and now I walk downstairs and now I'm kind of bombarded by family life. Which was never the case when we were in an office, right? You always had a drive to kind of switch from one to the other. So creating something where I do that switch in my office before I go downstairs, whether it's like working on a puzzle, coloring for a little bit, meditation, reading a book, something that, for 10 or 15 minutes creates this break from work that allows me to then go downstairs and step into family life.
I love that, creating a transition, like an intentional transitional space
Yeah.
to switch from work mode to personal mode. That's a really good tip. I don't do that.
And it could
Or
be
I
a
do it with
space,
social media.
could be a space, but I do just do it in my office. I have like a different chair I'll sit in.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
nice.
I don't know. I found that to be really important. If I don't do that, I have a hard time letting go of the work stuff when I walk downstairs.
Yeah. When the weather cooperates, I'll like go for a walk before I like switch into Rochelle life post work. But yeah, you don't have to completely exit the space. It's just a mental thing.
Mhm.
Great tip, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, a friendly reminder to our listeners, if you have a burning question, you can email it to us at burnoutbanter@gmail.com. We love your burning questions. Please remember to like or subscribe to the podcast on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to make sure you never miss an episode. And finally, if your organization's struggling with burnout, whether it be digital or not, or stress management, Rochelle and I offer in-house coaching to help your staff get back on track. And you can reach out to us at that same burnoutbanter@gmail.com email or via LinkedIn to get some personalized support. So until next month, we will see you all soon. In October, we are thinking of doing an episode on burnout horror stories. So if you have any horror stories to share with us, we would appreciate that as well.
I'm so glad you remembered to say that. The call for scary stories is going to go out on LinkedIn probably right before this episode drops. So you might be already seeing that before you hear us. But please submit your horror stories. They're anonymous. We just want to share that we're all in the same boat. We're going to have a lot of fun with this special episode.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next month. Take care.
Take care.